What's going on, guys? I'm FlexZero, your tech hero, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about pre-builts. You know, we can get into a whole discussion on whether you should buy or build your own PC, but that's a topic I'll save for another video. Now, among many reasons, the main reason that people usually buy pre-builts is because they're intimidated of the idea of building their own PC. They're scared that they're going to spend a whole bunch of money on a bunch of different components, and then when it comes time to put it all together, they're going to mess something up. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. I can assure you it's a lot harder to mess something up than you think, but for the people who are set on buying a pre-built, this video is for you. Now in this video, I'll be showing you some PCs from all different price ranges. We will go over 4K builds, 1440p builds, and also 1080p builds, and then I'll give you my thoughts on each one of them. Now some of the PCs I'm going to be showing you will be out of stock right now, but don't let that worry you. They will be coming back into stock periodically, and from what I've seen, they're going to be coming back pretty quick. All of the PCs we're going to be going over in this video will have the links down in the description below, as well as some other options that you won't see in this video. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into my PC. So something you should know about pre-builts is they have to make money. So even though you're getting a good PC, they might cut corners on the power supply or the fan. Not every company is going to do this, but you still want to do your own research before you spend your hard-earned money on a pre-built. So this is our first 4K pre-built, and as you can see, this thing is just beautiful. It's being housed in the Gaming PC 011 Razor Edition case, and it's actually the same case I'm going to be building my next PC in. Now before anybody says this PC isn't worth $4,000, I know. I added the MSRP of every part this PC has, and it comes out to around $2,500. But hear me out for a second. Where are you going to find a Ryzen 9 5900X that isn't out of stock right now? Where are you going to find an RTX 3080 that isn't out of stock right now? As of February 2021, you can throw MSRP prices out the window because nothing is in stock right now. So basically, because this company builds computers as a business, they are able to charge a premium for the Ryzen 9 5900X and the RTX 3080 that they have in stock. So that $2,500 price tag for the parts might be more like $3,000 right now. And don't forget, they still have to do the labor of putting the PC together. Anyways, I got off on a tangent right there. So this PC does have the Ryzen 9 5900X, which is going to be one of the best CPUs money can buy right now. It also has a very elusive RTX 3080, which is almost the best GPU money can buy right now, second to only the RTX 3090. Now for the motherboard, we got a Asus Prime X570P, and that's going to be a solid board. I really like Asus motherboards. Now for the RAM, we got 32 gigabytes of DDR4 3600, which is very good, but what it doesn't say is the brand. So I did some picture comparing, and it kind of looks like T-Force Delta RAM, and if that's the case, then it's pretty good brand. Now the storage in this PC is going to be a Western Digital 1TB NVMe, which is great. Now for the power supply, we have a 750 watt with an 80+ gold rating, but it doesn't say the brand, and I would really rather a 850 watt power supply. But 750 watts is still going to be able to run fine with the specs of this PC. It's just going to be a little closer to the edge of what it can do. So if you overclock anything, it might get a little sketchy. Now it doesn't say what brand of fans they're using, but I'm willing to bet it's not the Corsair LL series fans or any of the fan favorite fans that usually are used with the Lee & case. They also are using a Deep Cool Castle 360 for the AIO, and that's pretty good AIO. Now two other small things I noticed is that the GPU is vertically mounted, and for the motherboard and GPU cables, they're using custom green cables. Now this PC is pretty overkill, and it might be slightly overpriced, but it should be able to play all games in 4K with no problem, and it looks great. Now our next 4K PC is almost half the price at $2,200. You can very quickly notice that it doesn't look nearly as good as the first PC we looked at, but let's try to find out why it's so much cheaper. So the last PC we looked at actually had an AMD CPU, but this PC is going to be using the Intel Core i9. Now they really aren't going to be that much of a difference speed wise, but the Ryzen 5900X is going to be better at multitasking. Like the last one, this PC does come with an RTX 3080, so the graphics going to be packing, never lacking. Another difference between this PC and the last PC we looked at is this PC only has 16 gigabytes of RAM and it's running at 3000 megahertz. The other PC had 32 gigabytes of RAM and was running at 3600 megahertz. So the speed of the RAM is going to be a little slower, but you can always put another stick in whenever you want to get that 32 gigabytes of RAM. For the storage, we got 1 terabyte of Intel NVMe, which is good. Now at the top of this case, you see it has a 240 millimeter radiator, but it does not say the brand. I would have preferred a 360 mil radiator, but it really doesn't look like it could fit in this case even. The power supply is going to be another 750 watt with an 80 plus gold rating. I'd really rather 850 watts, but we aren't the ones building it, so we don't get that option. Kind of the downsides of pre-builts. Now we are going to be moving to the 1440p pre-builts. So our first 1440p build is going to be the Skytech Shadow. Now this PC will sport an AMD Ryzen 5 3600. Not as powerful as a Ryzen 9 5900X, but still a fan favorite. For the graphics card, we're going to be rocking the RTX 3060 Ti, and just like the small performance increase from the 3080 to the 3090, the same is true with the 3060 to the 3070. There's really not all that much difference. Now this build has 16 gigabytes of RAM running at 3000 megahertz, so we are getting slightly slower RAM with this 1440p build. It has a 1 terabyte SSD, it doesn't say the brand, and it's not NVMe. But 1 terabyte is definitely where you want to be right now with all those larger games coming out. Now it looks like we have 1 intake fan at the front and 2 exhaust fans on the top and 1 exhaust fan at the rear. That's going to give you some pretty good airflow through this case. It also seems to be using a stock CPU cooler, but there's nothing wrong with that. The motherboard it's using seems to be an MSI B450, and that's a pretty solid motherboard as well. Now the power supply is 600 watts, and I told you guys the pre-built companies have to make money too. It's really easy to ride that line of what power supply they can use in their builds to make money. So just be mindful of that if you plan on overclocking in the future. So our next 1440p build is going to have an Intel CPU, and it's going to be the Acer Predator Orion. This PC is using an RTX 2060 Super, which is a very good card. It should be able to handle 1440p with no problems at all. It's using an Intel Core i7 for the CPU, and where gaming is concerned, you really wouldn't see that much of a performance increase if you had a Core i9 over the i7. It's got 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. It doesn't say which brand, but 16 gigabytes is pretty much the standard for gaming right now. Now this is pretty interesting because this is the most storage we've seen on a pre-built today, coming in at 1.5 terabytes. We have a 1 terabyte hard drive and a 512 gigabyte SSD. That's definitely going to be enough space for any games you're going to be playing. From what I can tell, it looks like there's 1 intake fan and 1 outtake fan. I'm kind of iffy on the airflow, but I'm sure the temps in this PC is still decent. Also, this PC comes with an Acer mouse and keyboard, so if you're brand new to PC gaming, you won't have to go out and buy any new peripherals to get going. So finally, we made it to the 1080p pre-built PCs. These are going to be the most budget-friendly PCs in the whole lineup while still being able to run games in 1080p. So this PC is going to have 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. That's great. It's going to come with a 408 gigabyte SSD and a 2 terabyte hard drive. You know, it seems like the cheaper we get with these PCs, the more storage space we're getting. And I'm doing it confused right now. Well, anyway, I think that's enough storage space to download Warzone like 5 times over. So I think you'll be good on storage. The graphics card is going to be a GTX 1660 Super. Really solid card. You shouldn't have any problems with 1080p 60 FPS. A 500 watt power supply is going to be powering this PC. It comes with 3 120mm fans, 2 intakes in the front, 1 outtake in the back. This is a really good fan orientation, and you shouldn't have any problems with airflow in this PC. This PC also comes with a keyboard and a mouse. Now the last build we're going to be looking at is also the cheapest, and will still be able to run 1080p at 60 FPS. So this is going to be the ABS Challenger Gaming PC, and it's going to be using an Intel i3 10100. Now don't let the word i3 fool you. i3s are still more than capable of gaming, and you shouldn't have any problems with 1080p. It's going to be using a GTX 1650 Super, no problems there. Now you do only get 8 gigabytes of RAM with this pre-built, but you could drop another $40 for an extra 8 gigabytes of RAM and you'll be at 16. but you still should be okay with 8 gigabytes. The storage is going to be a 512 gigabyte SSD, and this pre-built does also come with a keyboard and a mouse. Overall, this is a very solid, very budget-friendly pre-built. That's all for the pre-builts, guys. I hope this video helped you get just a little closer to a decision on what PC you should buy. I want to help you as much as I can, and I really do enjoy making these informative videos, almost more than I enjoy making the tech videos that I do. Guys, if you have any questions about anything you see in this video, don't hesitate to ask in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like for the YouTube algorithm so we can help more people going forward. I got a lot of videos planned for this year, so do consider subscribing if you want to see more tech videos like this in the future. Alright guys, that's all I got. See you in the next one.